The night was heavy with smoke and strange lights, the kind that made shadows look alive. A human named Daniel walked through the narrow streets of an alien city. He was not rich, not powerful, just a traveler looking for spare ship parts, but tonight, his path led him into a place he should never have entered, the black market. The air smelled of oil, blood, and fear. Vendors shouted in alien tongues, selling weapons, rare spices, and even strange animals in cages. Daniel kept his head low, not wanting attention. He only needed one thing, a cheap energy core for his old ship. But when he heard a loud cheer, his eyes turned toward the center of the market. A stage stood there, raised above the crowd. And on that stage, cages were lined up. Inside those cages were not animals, but living beings. Alien girls, some young, some older, their faces pale with fear. Daniel's stomach twisted. He hated slavery, but the crowd shouted with excitement, raising their hands and calling out prices. The auctioneer, a fat alien with sharp teeth, clapped his hands. Next! A rare find, a beautiful one, trained and obedient. From the shadows, guards dragged a cage forward. Inside sat a girl with silver hair and glowing eyes. Chains around her wrists, her clothes were torn, her head bent. But even in her broken state, she looked unreal. The crowd roared, hungry to buy her. Daniel shook his head. He wanted no part in this filth. But before he could turn away, the girl's eyes lifted. And for the smallest second, she looked at him. Not at the crowd. Not at the auctioneer. At him directly. It was not the look of a slave, but of someone begging for rescue. Daniel's chest tightened. He knew he should leave, but his feet did not move. The auctioneer shouted again. Starting price, 500 credits. Hands shot up around him. Daniel crossed his arms, trying to ignore it. But then one of the guards jabbed the girl with a metal rod. She flinched, biting her lip to hold back a scream. Something inside him snapped. Without thinking, Daniel lifted his hand. It was meant as a protest, maybe as a reflex. But the crowd cheered instantly. The auctioneer's eyes locked on him. Ah! The human bid 600. Daniel's heart froze. Wait, no! But it was too late. The bidding war had begun. Aliens shouted higher numbers. Daniel's mouth stayed shut. But every time he lowered his hand, the auctioneer twisted the truth. Ah, the human raises again! The crowd laughed, finding it amusing that an outsider joined. Within minutes, the price had risen. Daniel's face turned pale as the auctioneer slammed his staff. Sold. To the human! The market roared with cheers and laughter. Daniel's mind spun. He had not come here to buy anyone, let alone a love slave. But the guards dragged the cage to him anyway. The girl was pushed out, chains still on her wrists. Her glowing eyes never looked away from him. She stumbled, then stood close. Almost touching his arm, Daniel whispered harshly. I didn't mean this, I didn't. But the girl tilted her head, her lips forming a strange smile. You chose me, she said softly in broken English. Her voice was quiet, but there was power in it. Daniel shivered, unsure if it was fear or something else. The auctioneer slapped his back, laughing. Congratulations, human. She is yours now, body and soul. She will never leave your side. The crowd laughed with him, but Daniel only felt the weight of chains heavier than steel. The girl's words echoed in his mind. You chose me. Now I won't let you go. He tried to walk away quickly. Dragging her behind, eyes followed them through the crowd, some with amusement, others with envy, and some with hatred. Daniel felt danger growing with every step. He knew he had made a mistake, but he also knew something else. This girl was not an ordinary slave, and whatever secret she carried was now his burden too. As they left the black market, the city lights seemed darker. The chains rattled softly, but the girl did not stumble. She walked close, her eyes fixed on him. Daniel whispered to himself, what have I done? But deep inside, a cold voice answered. This was only the beginning. The road back to Daniel's small ship felt longer than ever. The black market's noise still echoed in his ears. The girl walked beside him, chains rattling with every step. Aliens in the street whispered, some laughing, some glaring. To them, she was just another purchase, but to Daniel, she was a mistake that already felt too heavy. When they finally reached the docking bay, Daniel unlocked his ship's hatch. The girl stepped in slowly, looking around with sharp eyes. It surprised him. Most slaves he had seen in the colonies looked broken, but this girl carried herself differently. Her back was straight, her glowing eyes alert. She was watching, measuring like a soldier hiding in plain sight. Daniel sighed and dropped into the pilot chair. He rubbed his temples. This is insane. I don't even know your name. The girl tilted her head, then spoke softly. They called me property. Never name. Her voice cracked, but her eyes never wavered. Daniel felt anger stir, not at her but at the monsters who put her in that cage. He stood up and walked to the storage cabinet. Inside was a small set of tools. He returned, crouched beside her, and reached for the chains. She tensed instantly, pulling back. No, she whispered. Her hands tightening around the cold iron, Daniel raised his palm slowly. Easy. I'm not here to hurt you, I just want these chains off. Her glowing eyes searched his face for truth. For a long moment, silence filled the cabin. Then slowly she nodded. Daniel worked carefully, snapping the first lock open. The sound of breaking steel echoed like thunder in the small ship. Her wrist was free, bruised and marked. The second lock came off, then the third. At last, the heavy collar dropped to the floor with a clang. The girl stared at her bare wrists as if she couldn't believe it. Then she clenched her fists tightly. For the first time, her lips curved, not into a smile, but into something fierce. You break chains, she whispered. No one ever break chains before. Daniel shook his head. You're not property, not mine. Not anyone's. But when he turned away, her words stopped him cold. You say not property, she said softly, but I won't let you go. Her voice had changed. It carried a strange promise. Almost like a vow, Daniel's heart beat faster. He looked back at her and saw not a broken girl, but a flame burning in her eyes. And for a moment he was afraid, not of her, but of what this bond might mean. Before he could answer, the ship's sensors beeped. Daniel walked to the console, his eyes narrowing. A red signal flashed across the screen. Tracking pings. Someone was following them, he muttered. Of course. Buying her must have painted a target on my back. The girl moved beside him, her posture sharp, alert like a soldier. They will come, she said flatly. They always come. Daniel stared at her. You've been running before? She didn't reply, only glanced at the hatch as if expecting enemies at any moment. He realized then, she wasn't just a victim. She knew the ways of hunters and killers, which meant her past was far darker than he imagined. The sensors beeped again, louder. Daniel cursed under his breath and started the engines. The ship lifted shakily off the ground, engines whining through the small window. He saw shadows moving in the docking bay, armed figures too late to stop them. The girl stood behind him, gripping the chair, her chains gone but her resolve strong. Her eyes burned as she whispered, You saved me. Now I save you. Daniel gave her a sharp look. I don't need saving. But the way she said it chilled him. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. The ship cut through the clouds, leaving the black market behind. But Daniel knew it wasn't over. Whoever those people were, they wouldn't stop. They wanted her back, and now they wanted him too. As the stars came into view, Daniel turned to her. You're free now. You don't have to stay with me, he said firmly. But she only stepped closer, her glowing eyes locking onto his. Her words were simple but unshakable. I am free. Because of you, I will not leave. I will never leave. Daniel leaned back in the chair, his chest heavy with a mix of fear and confusion. He whispered to himself, What have I gotten into? But deep down, a part of him already knew the answer. The girl had broken chains, but in doing so, she had wrapped invisible ones around his life, and now, no matter where he went, he was no longer alone, for better or worse. Their fates were bound together. The stars stretched endless outside the ship's window. Daniel sat in the pilot's chair. Trying to calm his thoughts, the girl sat across from him, her glowing eyes fixed on him without blinking. It was as if she was watching his every move, waiting for something. The silence inside the ship felt heavier than the space outside. Finally, Daniel broke it. Listen, I need answers, he said, his voice sharp but controlled. Who are you? Why did those people chase us? And why did you say you'll never let me go? The girl tilted her head slightly as if weighing his words, then she whispered, I am not what they say. Not love slave, not property. Her hands trembled as she touched her bare wrists where the chains had been. They lied. They hide me. Daniel leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. Hide you? From who? The girl looked down as if the memories hurt to speak. Then slowly her words came, broken but clear enough. I was taken, long time ago, stolen from my home, my people. Noble blood, high house. Syndicate wanted me as prize, as weapon. So they call me slave, but I was not. Daniel's heart thumped hard in his chest. He realized now she was not just some unlucky victim of the market. She had a history, a background that tied her to something powerful. Wait, you're saying you're from a noble house? He asked, almost not believing it. Her glowing eyes lifted to meet his. Yes, she whispered. But if they know I live, war will come. The weight of her words pressed down on him. He had thought he made a mistake, but now he understood. His mistake had pulled him into something far bigger. A struggle between syndicates, noble houses, and maybe whole empires. Daniel rubbed his face with both hands, muttering, Great, just great. I only wanted a spare part, and now I've got an intergalactic crisis. The girl suddenly stood. Her steps light but sure, she walked toward him and stopped close. Her glowing eyes locked onto his. You saved me, she said firmly. I belong with you now. Daniel frowned. You don't belong to anyone. I told you that already. But she shook her head, her silver hair brushing her shoulders. No, not belong like property. I choose, and I choose you. The word sent a strange chill through him. It wasn't love she spoke, not yet. It was something deeper, a vow forged in survival. Daniel turned away, trying to focus on the ship's controls, but her voice followed him like a shadow. Suddenly the sensors beeped again. A small red dot blinked on the radar. Daniel cursed under his breath. They're still tracking us, the girl moved beside him, her eyes narrowing as she stared at the screen. They won't stop until they take me back, or kill you. Daniel's fists tightened on the console. Then you better start explaining more, he snapped. What exactly are you to them? Why risk all this for you? For a long time she was silent, her gaze fixed on the stars, then finally she whispered, I was promised as bride to unite houses, but I refused. Syndicate took me instead, used me, hid me. Her voice shook, but her eyes burned with anger. Daniel felt the truth settling like a storm inside his chest. This wasn't just about her past, it was about her future. She was a key piece in some political game. And by accident, he had just stolen that piece. Before he could ask more, the ship jolted, an alarm screamed. Missile lock. Daniel gritted his teeth and slammed the controls. The small ship dove hard, stars spinning outside behind them. A hunter craft appeared, sleek and deadly. Lasers cut through the void, flashing past. The girl grabbed the side rail, her stance steady despite the chaos. Fight or run, she said calmly. Her voice almost too calm, Daniel growled. This ship isn't built for fighting. But her hand touched his shoulder, firm and unshaking. Then run, but run smart. Daniel's mind raced. He cut the engines suddenly, the ship drifting silent in the dark. The hunter craft shot past, overshooting in confusion with a sharp thrust. Daniel reignited the engines, spinning behind them. The hunter was caught off guard. Daniel fired the small defensive cannon, just enough to break their lock. The enemy ship staggered, then peeled away. Retreating into the void, breathing hard, Daniel leaned back in his chair. That was too close, he muttered. The girl's hand was still on his shoulder, her grip strong. You see, she whispered. Alone you die with me. You live? Daniel looked at her, his throat dry. He wanted to deny it, wanted to push her away. But deep down, he knew she was right, whatever she was, whatever her past held. He was already bound to it now. She leaned closer, her voice low and unshakable. I told you, I won't let you go, because if you go I am lost, and if I am lost, so is the galaxy. Daniel froze, her words echoing in the quiet hum of the ship. He stared at her glowing eyes, and for the first time, he realized the truth. He hadn't just rescued a girl from a cage. He had pulled a secret from the shadows. A secret that could set the galaxy on fire. The hum of the ship filled the silence. Daniel sat tense at the controls, eyes locked on the radar. The red blip of the hunter craft had vanished. But he knew it wasn't gone. Predators didn't give up so easily. And this one was after the girl, after her secrets. After her blood, the girl stood behind him silent. Her silver hair glowed faintly in the dim light. Her glowing eyes sharp. She did not tremble, did not fidget. She looked more like a soldier preparing for battle than someone rescued from chains. Daniel noticed, and it unsettled him. He muttered, They'll be back. Ships like that don't just vanish. The girl nodded slowly. Yes, hunters follow scent once they mark. They chase forever. Her voice was calm, too calm. Daniel wondered again, who was she really? The radar beeped suddenly. 3 red dots appeared this time. Daniel's blood ran cold. Great, now there are 3. He slammed the engine controls, pushing the ship faster. The stars blurred outside as they streaked across space. But the hunters closed in, moving like wolves circling prey. The girl leaned closer, her voice low. They want me alive, but you dead. You make them angry. You took me. Daniel shot her a sharp look. Yeah, well, I didn't exactly plan it. Her lips twitched, almost like the ghost of a smile. You think mistake. I think fate. The hunters drew closer, warning shots flashed across their path. Sizzling past the hull, the ship shuddered, alarms screaming. Daniel cursed and pulled into a sharp dive. One hunter overshot, but two stayed locked on his tail. The girl moved to the weapon controls, her fingers brushing the panel. Daniel spun in his chair. What are you doing? She met his eyes, steady and certain. I fight, she said simply. Daniel shook his head. You don't know how... But before he could finish, her hands flew across the panel with trained precision. The small cannon roared, spitting bursts of energy. One hunter swerved hard, nearly colliding with the other. Daniel froze for a moment, staring at her. Her movements weren't random. She knew exactly what she was doing. Every shot was sharp, calculated, this girl. She wasn't just some noble daughter. She had been trained, drilled, maybe even bred for war. The hunters regrouped, firing back. The ship rocked violently, sparks flying from the console. Daniel gritted his teeth, fighting the controls. This ship wasn't made for this, he shouted. The girl's glowing eyes burned brighter. Then trust me, she said. Her voice was sharp, commanding, almost royal. Daniel hesitated, then nodded once. Together they moved, his hands on the engines, hers on the weapons. The small ship twisted and rolled. Dodging blasts, cannon fire answered back, forcing the hunters to scatter for a moment. Space lit up like a storm of fire. Finally, one hunter broke formation, retreating into the dark. Another drifted, damaged. Sparks sprang, but the third held on. Refusing to fall, it swooped in low, firing relentlessly. Daniel cursed, sweat on his forehead. We can't shake him. The girl's eyes narrowed. She whispered something in her own alien tongue. Then she looked at Daniel. Fly into the storm, she said firmly, pointing ahead. Daniel followed her gaze. His radar showed a red zone ahead. An ion storm, unstable, dangerous. Are you crazy? He barked. That storm will tear this ship apart. She leaned closer, her face inches from his. Storm is death for hunters. But not for us, trust me. Daniel's heart pounded. He stared at her glowing eyes, then at the raging storm ahead. Every instinct screamed to avoid it. But something in her voice, steady, unshakable, pushed him forward. He slammed the throttle, the ship surged ahead. Lightning cracked in the void, plasma clouds swirling. The hunter followed, but too late. The storm lashed out, electric arcs ripping across its hull. Its engines flared, then exploded in a burst of fire. The ship vanished in a flash of light. Daniel gasped. Pulling his ship through the turbulence, sparks danced across the panels. But somehow they made it through. Silence fell again. Only the hum of the engine remained. Daniel leaned back, breathing hard. He turned to the girl, his voice rough. You knew that storm would kill them, didn't you? She nodded once, calm as ever. Yes, she said softly. I learned storms. Storms protect me when nothing else could. Her words sank into him like stone. She had lived like prey for so long, hunted, chased, forced to find shelter in places even death lived. Daniel realized then, she was more than just a stolen daughter. She was a survivor, forged in fear and pain. The girl stepped closer, placing her hand over his on the console. You saved me, she whispered. Now we fight together, they will send more, stronger. But I will not let you go, not until truth is free. Daniel looked into her glowing eyes. For the first time, he didn't see chains, he saw fire. And he knew this was only the beginning. The hunters would come again, and when they did, the galaxy would learn that the mistake he made was far more dangerous than anyone could imagine. The storm was behind them, but peace did not follow. Daniel's ship rattled from the damage, alarms blinking across the console. He shut them down one by one, his hands shaking with exhaustion. Beside him, the girl stood tall, her glowing eyes unblinking. She looked less like a passenger and more like a shadow carved into the ship itself. Daniel muttered, We can't keep this up. One ship half broken running from hunters sooner or later. They'll catch us. The girl tilted her head slightly, her silver hair brushing her cheeks. They will always come until I am theirs again. Or dead. Her calm words made Daniel's chest tighten. He leaned back in his chair, staring at her. What are you not telling me? Why risk so much for you? Her eyes lowered, her voice quieter now. My blood is key, noble houses fight for power. If they own me, they rule. If I vanish, balance breaks, so syndicate hides me, uses me, sells me. Daniel froze, his jaw clenched. So that was it. She wasn't just important. She was a prize in a game bigger than empires. And somehow, by raising his hand in the wrong moment, he had stolen her from the board. Before he could reply, the radar beeped again. 4 new red blips blinked onto the screen. Daniel's heart sank. Not again. The girl's expression didn't change. They hunt faster now, stronger ships. Better weapons, Daniel cursed under his breath, and slammed the engine controls. The ship groaned, but surged forward into the dark. The chase began once more. Lasers cut across the void, grazing the hull. Sparks sprayed from the panels. Daniel gritted his teeth, weaving the ship through debris fields and broken satellites. But the hunters stayed close, circling like wolves. The girl steadied herself against the chair, her glowing eyes locked on the window. She whispered, almost to herself, "No escape in open space." "Must vanish." Daniel shot her a quick look. "Vanish? How? This isn't magic." But she raised her hand, pointing to the map display. "Here." Broken moon, shadow fields. We hide there. Daniel followed her finger. The screen showed a shattered moon, chunks of rock floating in orbit like giant knives. It was dangerous, unstable, full of gravity shifts and deadly debris. He frowned. "That place will tear us apart." She met his eyes without fear. "Or it will tear them apart first." He had no better choice. Daniel pulled the ship hard toward the broken moon. The hunters followed, firing relentlessly. Rocks spun and cracked against each other. Glowing from impact, the ship weaved through narrow gaps. Alarm screaming, Daniel's breath came fast, sweat dripping down his temple. One wrong move and they'd be crushed. The hunters entered the field behind them. One clipped a spinning boulder. Its wing torn clean off, it spiraled, exploded, lighting the rocks in orange flame. The others pressed on, angrier now. The girl's voice was calm, steady. "Left, sharp. Now climb." Daniel obeyed without question. She wasn't guessing. She moved like she knew this field, and somehow, the ship slipped through cracks that should have killed them. Finally, the last hunter pulled too close. A massive chunk of rock drifted into its path. It fired, trying to break through. But the blast only shattered the rock into hundreds of sharp fragments. The shards ripped into its hull, tearing it open. The ship exploded silently in the void. Daniel let out a long breath, his chest burning. Only one hunter remained, but instead of following deeper, it stopped. Hovering at the edge of the broken moon field, watching, waiting, Daniel muttered, "Coward." But the girl shook her head, her voice low. "Not coward. Messenger, it waits, then calls more." Daniel's blood ran cold. This wasn't just a hunt, it was a war of patience. He leaned back in his chair, running his hands down his face. "Great. So no matter where we go, they'll keep sending more." The girl stepped closer, her voice softer now. "You can still leave me, drop me, run free. They won't chase you then." Daniel turned sharply, his eyes locking onto hers. Her face was calm. But he saw the truth. She expected him to abandon her. She was testing him. Daniel stood slowly, walking closer, his voice firm. "No, I made this mistake. And now I'm stuck with it. If they want you, they'll have to go through me first." For the first time, her expression cracked. Her glowing eyes softened, almost shining with something new, trust. She whispered, "Then you are already part of me. And I will never let you go." Daniel sighed, shaking his head. "You keep saying that like it's a promise, but I don't think you understand what you're tying me to." The girl leaned closer, her hand brushing his arm. "I understand more than you think," she said quietly. "Your fate is mine now, and mine is heavier than stars." Outside, the broken moon turned slowly. Inside, Daniel felt the weight of her words settle into him. The escape route had worked, but it was no true escape, it was only a delay. And in the darkness of space, he knew the hunters were already gathering again. This time there would be no easy way out. The broken moon's shadow hid Daniel's ship for hours. The wreckage field spun slowly around them. Silent and endless, Daniel sat in the pilot chair, half asleep but restless. His nerves were raw, his mind replaying the chase again and again. But the girl had not moved, not once. She stood near the window, her glowing eyes fixed on the stars like she was waiting for something only she could see. Finally, Daniel broke the silence. We can't stay here forever, he said, his voice rough. They'll send more ships, maybe an entire fleet if we don't move. We're already dead. The girl turned slowly, her expression calm but unreadable. Yes, she whispered, they will come. But not only them. Daniel frowned. What do you mean, not only them? The girl hesitated, then stepped closer, her silver hair catching the dim light. You think I mistake that you buy wrong slave, but no, Daniel. I chose you. Her words cut through the air like a blade. Daniel blinked, his chest tightening. You chose me? You were in chains. How could you choose anything? Her lips curved into something between sadness and defiance. Chains on body, not on mind. I saw you. I knew you would not turn away. You raise hand not for price but for me. Daniel shook his head, frustrated. I didn't raise my hand to buy you. It was an accident. But she stepped closer, her glowing eyes locking onto his. No accident, fate. And now truth must be told, her voice changed then. Deeper, steadier, like a command spoken by royalty. My name is not slave. My name is Serenia, daughter of High House Lyriath, heir to throne of my people. Daniel froze, the air knocked out of him. He stared at her as if the stars had shattered. You're a princess? He whispered. Serenia nodded once. Yes, hidden, stolen. Sold, but still heir, still blood. Daniel rubbed his forehead, his voice sharp. So all this time I've been running with a princess? No wonder they're hunting us. You're not just important, you're a weapon. Her eyes narrowed, her voice cold now. Yes, to them I am weapon, to my people I am symbol, but to you, what am I? The question hit him harder than any laser fire. He opened his mouth, then closed it. He didn't know the answer, not yet. The radar beeped suddenly, snapping him out of thought. Daniel's eyes shot to the screen, multiple red dots. Moving fast. Damn it, they found us again, he muttered. Serenia didn't flinch. Instead, she placed a hand on his shoulder. Then truth unleashed. No more hiding. The first hunter ships appeared outside, sleek and dark against the stars. They spread into formation, blocking every exit. Daniel's chest tightened. We can't fight them all. This ship will be torn apart in seconds. But Serenia's glowing eyes burned brighter than he had ever seen. She walked past him, her hand brushing the console. I am not only heir by blood. I was trained. I carry power they fear. Daniel spun in his chair. What are you talking about? But before he could stop her, she touched the ship's core. The lights flickered, energy crackled. And then, her body glowed. A silver aura surrounded her, flowing like fire but cold as ice. Daniel's mouth went dry. What the hell are you? Serenia's voice echoed with power. I am Lyriath's daughter, born to bind stars. They kept me caged because if I rise, houses fall. Outside, the hunter ships moved closer. Weapons primed, but Serenia lifted her hand. Her glowing energy surged into the ship. The panels lit up with power far beyond its design. Daniel stared as the engines roared to life, stronger than ever. The ship shook. Trembling with raw energy, Serenia whispered, Now, they will see truth. She extended her hand toward the hunters outside, and in a blinding flash, arcs of silver light erupted. 2 hunter ships exploded instantly, torn apart by the surge. The others scattered, breaking formation. Daniel's jaw dropped, his hands frozen on the console. You just destroyed them without weapons. Serenia turned, her aura fading but her eyes still blazing. My blood carries the gift of the ancients. It is why they want me. It is why I cannot let you go. Because now you know truth, and truth is dangerous. Daniel stood slowly, his chest heavy with shock. He stared at her, searching for words. But she stepped closer, her voice soft now. You are caught in my war. You can still run. Leave me, forget me, but if you stay, you fight with me, and together, we change everything. For a long moment, Daniel said nothing. The stars outside seemed smaller, quieter. He thought about the chains he broke, the hunters he escaped, and the power he had just witnessed. He finally whispered, I don't want this war. But I can't leave you either. Serenia's glowing eyes softened, her hand touched his arm, gentle now. Then we are bound, she said, not by chains, but by choice. Outside, the hunters regrouped, more ships arriving in the distance. Daniel looked at her, then at the radar, his jaw set, his voice firm. All right, princess. If they want war, let's give them a reason to regret chasing us, and in that moment, he knew the truth had been unleashed, and nothing would ever be the same again. The stars burned bright outside. But inside Daniel's ship, the air was heavy. The radar screamed with red dots. More hunters than ever before, a fleet now, not just small ships. The Syndicate had sent everything to reclaim their lost prize. Daniel gripped the controls, his jaw tight. This is it. We can't outrun them anymore. Serenia stood behind him. Her silver aura faint but ready, her glowing eyes fixed on the fleet ahead. She did not flinch, did not tremble. Instead, she whispered, "Then we stand." Daniel turned sharply. "Stand? Against that? We'll be ash before the first volley." But Serenia placed her hand on his shoulder. Her voice was calm, steady. "No, you broke my chains. Now together we break theirs." The first barrage of fire came. Lasers streaked across the void, hammering the shields. The ship shook violently, alarms shrieking. Daniel cursed and fought the controls. This bucket can't take much more. But Serenia stepped forward, placing both hands on the console. Her aura flared, brighter than ever, and the ship responded. Its engines roared with unnatural power. Its shields hardened with silver light. Daniel stared in shock. "You're feeding it your energy." She nodded once. "Yes, my blood is curse and gift, alone it is chain with you. It is freedom." The hunters closed in, their formation tight, surrounding the ship from all sides. A voice crackled over the comms. "Harsh and cold? Return the girl, human. Or be destroyed with her." Daniel's chest tightened. He glanced at Serenia. She looked at him, her glowing eyes fierce. "Choice now, Daniel. Give me back, bondage, keep me free, fight." Your decision? The moment hung heavy. He thought of his life before. Quiet, simple, safe, just a man with a ship drifting between jobs. And now hunters, syndicates, war. All because he raised his hand by mistake. But was it really a mistake? He looked at her wrists, now free of chains. He remembered her words. "I will not let you go." And in that moment, Daniel knew his answer. He stood tall, his voice sharp and unshakable. "She's not your slave," he shouted at the comm. "She's free, and if you want her, you'll have to go through me." The comm went silent, then came laughter. Cruel and mocking. "So be it," the voice hissed. "Die together." The fleet unleashed hell. Lasers and missiles streaked toward them. Daniel braced, his hands on the controls. Serenia's aura erupted, flooding the ship with silver fire. The blasts struck, but the light bent them away. Explosions rippled harmlessly into space. Daniel's eyes widened. "You're
shielding us?"
Serenia's voice shook but remained firm. "Yes, but not forever. We must strike together." Daniel nodded sharply. He threw the ship into a roll, weaving between the fleet. Serenia guided the weapons, her energy flowing into every shot. The cannons fired with unnatural precision. Each blast tore through enemy hulls. Hunter ships erupted in fire, one after another. But the fleet was vast. For every ship they destroyed, more surrounded them. The ship groaned under the strain, lights flickering. Daniel's arms ached from holding the controls. Serenia swayed, her face pale, aura flickering. "You can't keep this up," Daniel warned. She shook her head, her voice a whisper. "I must, or we both die." Daniel's heart pounded. He saw her strength fading, her body trembling as she poured everything into keeping them alive. He reached out, grabbing her hand. "No, Serenia, not like this. I won't let your freedom kill you." She met his eyes, glowing even through the exhaustion. Her voice cracked but firm. "Then fight with me. Not as master, not as slave, but as equal." As bond, something inside Daniel shifted. He wasn't just flying anymore, he was fighting with her. Every movement of his hands matched her energy. Every blast from the cannons carried both their will, man and alien, human and air. Together they were more than either alone. The hunters realized too late. Their formation broke under the fury of the small ship. One by one they fell, fire lighting the stars. Finally, the flagship loomed ahead, massive and armored. Daniel's jaw tightened. "This is the last one," Serenia nodded. Her aura blazed like a sun. Then truth is free, they struck as one. Daniel drove the ship into the heart of the flagship's defenses. Serenia unleashed her full power. A storm of silver light tore through its shields. The massive ship cracked, fire spilling across its hull, and with a final blast it shattered into silence. The battlefield went quiet. Wreckage floated around them, glowing in the starlight. The radar cleared, no more red dots. Only silence. Daniel slumped back, exhausted. Serenia collapsed into the seat beside him. Her aura fading, he caught her before she fell, her voice weak but steady. "Free, finally free." Daniel looked at her, her chains gone, her spirit unbroken. He whispered softly, "So are you, Serenia." "So are we," she smiled faintly, her glowing eyes soft now. Not slave, not master, only bond forever. And as the ship drifted through the quiet stars, Daniel realized his mistake at the black market had become something greater. Not bondage, but freedom. Not accident, but fate. And together, they would carve a new path across the galaxy. One where no chain would ever hold her again,